So super happy to announce Maurice as our new strategic manager, Knappenschmiede. Knappenschmiede, that means for the non-Germans, it's our brand new academy team. We are really excited that Maurice kind of chose us for his next step in his career. I think to be honest, from my personal point of view, it's a smart decision to end his professional player career at a peak, and I'm convinced that will work pretty good. You have a lot of experience. You can teach and develop the young players. You can give them so much from your own career, ups and downs, whatever you kind of realize in the last, how many years was it?
Six in total.
6 years in total. Yeah, it's for League of Legends, it's a long time. Long career, and I am quite sure that it won't end here. So we had a couple of years you with us at Schalke, but maybe you'll tell a bit more about your own ideas about all of that.
No, I'm definitely excited. Like, I was always playing with the idea of retiring at some point anyway, and if I had a good opportunity, or good enough of an opportunity, I was going to do that anyway. And I think this opportunity being with Schalke, like obviously learning under this guy to a certain extent, because he's going to obviously, or is the head coach for the main team, and just seeing him work and seeing Dylan work like overall is really enlightening to me in general. So I've always tried to be like under or like in an organization that has obviously like good leadership, has really good staff, and I think just being part of that process and hopefully like for years to come is something that I can obviously work with and hopefully learn out of, and potentially like build up a career within coaching for myself.
Yeah, I'm really excited that Maurice is willing to take up this project. I know something Maurice has always actually excelled at on the teams he's played on is getting the most out of his younger players. He's worked with a lot of younger players and rookies and helped in a leadership role. So to me, this is such an obvious fit, because at Schalke, I think it's really important for the long term that we're building young talent and improving that. And having someone like Maurice on board is good for me to have a resource, and I'm sure for him as well to grow. I think it's also a great opportunity because he's going to get a lot of chance to grow as a coach and as a player manager and just being in charge of things. And adding this to his skill set, I think, would be really good.
What do we want to achieve with the Knappenschmiede? I told both from the very first minute, for sure we want to be successful in all competitions we will take part. But most important for us as a club is to develop young talent, as players, but also as personalities. And it's for us as an organization much more important to help players from regional competition to our LEC team and actually develop them to our LEC team. And this is something I expect from both of you, that you work closely together, farm team and main team, and at some point integrating players. I think Dylan has a lot of experience with that. With Fnatic, you already did that, very successful. And this is the way we also want to go. We want to integrate young players at the beginning, most likely integrating them here and there for scrims. And if they are capable and if they are good enough, I expect you guys to really help these young talents to grow.
I also think like one of the things that gives teams advantages and even like regions in general advantages is willing to and being able to identify and use young talent. I think in the past there's been so much talent that's kind of fallen through the cracks and hasn't made their way onto top rosters. So being able to catch these players early and be able to utilize them, I think is really important.
Yeah, and I do catch a lot of young players nowadays basically obviously go through social media hype, they go through a lot of things that I didn't have to pretend like not really face back then, but nowadays it's basically like a different culture. And I think just bringing a lot of the young players back to the roots, which is hard work and effort, is something that obviously I want to achieve, I think Schalke wants to achieve, and just like bringing them to the level that they can potentially achieve is something I always strive to make happen. I mean, obviously you know it best, but we basically try to have them remote to begin with, because obviously if we want to develop younger talent, especially if they're 16, 17, they're probably still likely going to school, and like a club like Schalke doesn't want to drag them out of school. I think a lot of other esports organizations don't really think about these kind of things as much as Schalke does. And I think that's the right way to go, because in the end, esports is still a really volatile concept to a certain extent, and a lot of the player careers are really short, even 6 years being like a really long career. It's kind of crazy to think about, where in traditional sports we have like these 15-20 year runs to a certain extent, and in esports that's not quite the thing yet. So allow players to potentially finish their education and then hopefully have them be ready for LEC at that point. And what young players should bring to the Knappenschmiede, if they're potentially hired, is obviously like the willingness to learn, the willingness to show effort, the willingness to basically participate in a group project. Because again, young players, and I was a young player once too, that was really stubborn, didn't really allow any other things to get to my head. Maybe that has kept on going for the rest of my career, but that's a whole nother topic. But it's really important that young players, especially if they're from solo queue, if they're freshmen there, get molded into something that can basically compete at the LEC level. Because time and time again, we have players that never really develop the social skill set, that don't develop the like the work and effort skill set that is really necessary to compete at the highest level for a continuous amount of time. And I think that's something I want to basically make happen for them, and I think that's what they have to bring to the table.
So Maurice already mentioned that the team most likely will not be on site due to the fact that we are focusing on very young talent. But we definitely build up the infrastructure to give these young talents often the opportunity to be part of the LEC team, actually, of the environment of the LEC team. We build up a gaming area just for the academy team, for boot camping, for bringing them in, if that's possible, with a leisure time and their other living conditions. So we all agreed here that they can be part of the team. They can watch reviews of the LEC team, learn from that, and also develop in that regards. So super happy that Dylan also aligned with that, with this strategy. And it won't work everything from the very first minute, but if we start with that setup here, I'm very confident that this will be the next Knappenschmiede at Schalke. Yeah.
I'm definitely like excited for that part, because I think that again, you know, like if you're just a coach, sure you can bring in scrim structure, but again, like beyond that, you cannot really help the players like in their mental aspects and stuff like that. So as a manager, especially, I would take part more in what they like, basically help them achieve what they want to achieve, not just as a player, but also as a person in the end. I mean, it probably depends obviously on the structure we all agree upon, but again, there's always a communication system that you can have. You can use Skype, you can use TS, and obviously interact with them on a daily basis. Just like have a quick talk before the scrims start, for example. Have a quick talk after the scrims end. You know, basically just like have the communication going, so each one of the players feels comfortable within the system, and basically like has the perspective of like where the main team is at, for example, too. Where if they, for example, need someone that could give them a different opinion on a certain role at certain times, that they get this input too, and then basically have this exchange going. So it's going to be a lot of talking to begin with. Probably like once. If they come to boot camps and whatever it is, it's probably going to be a bit different, where we're obviously going to hang out together a lot and basically just like have them get used to me as a person, and have me get used to them as my players, you know, because in the end they're going to be my players, and that's the first time in my career that I can say that.